I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, in Alameda, California. And at the same time, we're in San Francisco because I have two of my favorite. Oh, and we're going to be in Oakland, too. Is this Robert Medeiros?
This is Robert Medeiros. Is this Ralph?
Yes, it is. You're comfortably zoned. We're on the air. We got Fred Lazarus. I'm just introducing Fred as a guest. And Rebecca Kennedy Ward Kennedy.
Yeah.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
You're still Becky to me, kid.
I know. Before a certain point in time, I was Becky Ward, and then I decided to pretend to be a grown-up, so I started calling myself Rebecca, which was my birth name. But people who call me Becky, I know it's before a certain point in my life.
Right. So now you know. Listen, this is great that you're all returnees and comfortably zoned, and I'm blessed to have you as guests whenever.
We're all attorneys or all returnees?
Well, you could be both. I have attorneys come on here. I've got candlestick makers. I have everybody come on the show. Mm-hmm. But the returnees are the ones that have kept me going for 3 years in terms of just having fun, being interested, and having interesting people keeps me going, and it's what I call comfortably zoned. And while I'm rambling, if you'll indulge me, allow me, if you would, my guests, to tell the listening audience how I end mostly all of my segments, because there are a lot of you that tune in for a while and never hear the ending of the show for obvious reasons. So I'm going to put it up front so some of you know what it's about, some of you don't. Now more of you will know. I implore people at the end of the show to keep their humor dry and their dreams wet, keep their children and their grandchildren out of recruiting stations. Military recruiting stations are bad for the family. And if you don't believe me, take a tour of the veterans hospitals. And lastly, I implore you all to keep your kids and grandkids off the laps of clerics that wear dresses, just to be on the safe side. We know that one apple doesn't spoil the whole bunch. And as I jokingly said last week, 380,000 apples do spoil the bunch. But and there are good people too, but mostly you got to be real careful of where you leave your children unsupervised by adults that aren't perverted, and it really helps. So I wanted to make that clear, and I wanted to say that we're all here under circumstances that generally we don't want to be associated with. We lost Jimmy Gunn, and in the entertainment world, somebody that I don't know, but you guys, Fred and Robert, are close with, and Roddy Piper passed away. So it's Fred. It's got to be really tough for you. I know how close you were with Jimmy from your days at the Holy City Zoo.
Oh my God!
Let's start with you with some good Jimmy memories, if you would. And
one definitely doesn't overshadow the other. They're both tragedies. But I'd like to start off with Jimmy, of course, because there was a man who loved life. I mean, between Benjamin Stewart, the late Ben,
right,
and Jimmy, we're two guys that the cards were against them, health-wise, and either of them ever had a cross word to say about anything. You know, I mean, sure, we all heard Ben swear if some woman said no to him, or somebody didn't like a joke. Oh, fuck you! You know, you'd hear him say that, but it was in a way that just was not mean. And Jimmy was the same way.
Right.
Jimmy passed after surgery, if I'm not mistaken. I still really don't know how he passed. Well, he quit breathing. Oh, okay. But that doesn't need to be said or even told. Jimmy was a beautiful, beautiful person. If you were a comic who was starting out at the zoo, Jimmy was the one person that would never let you quit, ever. You'd come off stage, stuck at a bad set, Jimmy would be there to light a fire under your ass one way or the other. And I was overwhelmed by the number of people on Facebook alone that posted things about him. I had no idea how far-reaching this man was.
Yeah,
I mean,
how many people he touched. Yeah.
I mean, right, exactly. And Rebecca and Ralph, is comics, is real comics, which I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the best thing I could say about Jimmy, and I know you'd agree with me, is he loved to make people laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, would you give us an uplifting story about Jimmy and his life, or?
Sure. I started at the zoo as a lonely door person, a doorman, and in my shooting rocket to fame, I ended up managing the place and booking it. And basically, one night, I was really upset of just comics in general. I had shown up to work. I had set the open mic up for that night. And the only person that was treating me with any respect was Margaret Cho that night. She was there. And all these other comics were bitching about, I don't want to go first. I want to go ninth. I have friends coming here, and they're not here yet. Can you move me? And I had a meltdown. I just said, fuck all you guys. You're going up when I put you on. And Jimmy came over and said, Fred, I'm taking over. And I said, you know what? The club's yours. And I walked out front and sat on a bench. There's a bench out there we all know about. And God, if he did run the open mic for the next hour, where I sat in front of the place, hobnobbing and talking to people and just, you know, enjoying my freedom. And I walk into the club, and Jimmy's behind the bar, you know, slinging the beers. It was beautiful. He loved it so much. And then when he saw me peek in, he just put his hand up, motioned me with one finger, you know. He was tired of it, you know.
Yeah. It's not as easy a job as it appears to be.
No, it wasn't. And the uplifting part of Jimmy is he calmed me down, you know, and he just loved life. I mean, what more uplifting can you talk about than a man that wasn't supposed to live as long as he did, you know?
Yeah,
and he loved kids, you know. I mean, he loved kids.
Oh, I'm reading on Facebook stories from kids that he brought into acting, not necessarily comedy. He produced acting in high schools and this, that, and the other thing. And how he inspires them, and they all have a running thread of don't give up, you know, keep on keeping on.
I mean, Ralph, he would never let you give up. I mean, I'm not going to name names of certain comics, but I saw thousands of sets. Jimmy would be one of the first to come up to you and said, hey, you really got to continue that one bit, even though you didn't get any laughs in it. That's a real good premise. And then he always had to answer you with an improv line, or he'd always be there with something funny to say to you. You know, and no matter how many times you saw his green eggs and ham bit.
Yeah, always funny. And I just saw one, and I posted it on my Facebook page of him and Joe Klochik doing "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" with Joe.
I shared that.
Reading
It's
the book
wonderful.
and Jimmy acting it out. And the thing that just had me laughing so hard was the part about I tore open the shutters and threw up the sash, and Jimmy goes, bleh! And Joe goes, Jimmy, sash is not a food. I just started laughing so hard at that.
That's good. That's good stuff.
And I mean, Bob, not to let you out of the conversation, but Jimmy.
Yeah, Roddy's going to be dead for a long time, Bob.
Yeah.
We're going to have plenty of time for.
What I like about Jimmy is, you know, he had to go under dialysis, I think, for what, ever since he was,
very young.
10 years old?
Maybe,
And he never, ever, not one time complained about his health issues. So much to the fact I didn't know a thing about him till well over a year that I knew him, and he told me, because I asked him, and it was funny how I asked him about it. Every Monday, the comics would show up at Julius Confield in the Presidio to play softball. And I go, hey, Jimmy, why don't you show up? Everybody's there. He goes, no, I can't. I go, why? You're not working. It was in your bit last night, or earlier in the evening, that, hey, I'm not working right now. He goes, and there was a little silence, and then he looked at me and he said, well, you want me to die? I'll go play ball. And I'm like, wait a minute, where are you going? He goes, and he smiled. He goes, no, I have to have dialysis on Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he said it, it was just so, matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably spent more time in the hospital than, anybody I've ever known.
Yeah.
He said he had 3 or 4 at least failed kidney transplants or transplants are rejected or this, that, or the other. He's lived in pain and he died in pain, and he never complained. He had what he called my summer vacation, and
that was one of the last things he wrote was about what was going on with him with the health issues. And
right. I'm the kind of guy, I had a hangnail, and I'm looking for fucking hospice to come and get me, so I could lie there for a while, and they could say prayers over my ass. And he's the kind of guy that never complains. He's just,
how old was he?
Probably in his 50s, I'd say.
Oh, too young, way too young.
Yeah, if I was going to guess, I would say either late 40s, early 50s.
Jesus, that's way too young. Oof.
Yeah.
And, the devotion, the devotion he showed his wife, he never, ever, there was no time he didn't work her into the act or some act. There was always, he always made time for her to compliment her. Would always let people know, if it wasn't for my wife. And then when Facebook came around, he always posted things, how much he loved her, and never, ever let that go,
Yeah.
And,
right.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I have 2 very distinct memories of Jimmy Gunn. The second one involves the Holy City Zoo. The first one was, I don't know if anybody remembers the comedian named Beecher Sykes. Jimmy wanted to start an improv group with the 3 of us, Beecher, myself, and him. And so a couple of times we met over at Jimmy's house and just kind of did some improv games and everything. And you know how these kinds of things are. Sometimes they just never go anywhere. But we the 3 of us had so much fun together just doing these improv games and just laughing really hard. That's so Jimmy wanting me and Beecher to do an improv group together, that was so cool, and we had so much fun. The second memory and that was kind of like it was just a very good memory, very distinct. The second one was at the Holy City Zoo. I had just gone up on stage, and I don't remember if Jimmy was next or he was hosting, but for some reason he was not too, like maybe the next person. And my stupidly stinky ex-husband was in the audience with me. We were just kind of watching, we were taking turns going up on stage. And Jimmy came out. He came up on stage, and he looked at my ex, and he said, John, I have to tell you, I am in love with your girlfriend. And I thought that was just so, and he did it in like this very innocent voice, and I thought that was just so sweet. He was just, he
was, Rebecca.
I want to say is, because it's hard.
Yeah, he had an impish look in his eye that was really that he was enjoying life no matter what it threw at him. You laugh about the old proverb about lemons and lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
That mother was stirring some lemonade.
Oh my
and
God!
He did it really well. And
Ralph, did did you ever perform with him anywhere in the Bay Area?
We did a ton of open mics. We did.
Oh yes. We've all.
Rose and Thistle.
We all started out together.
We all started out, the three of us back in those days. I was going to ask Rebecca, what was? Do you have a memory of first meeting Jimmy, or did you meet at these open mics, or was it Emerson's?
You know it is. When you kind of start out all together with comedians, you just kind of hang out in the green room or in the outside or whatever, and I don't remember.
And admire each other's chests and stuff. Oh, wait a minute,
you just
that was us admiring you.
And it was.
Wait a minute, what did you just say?
It was very.
Never mind, Fred. It'll take you 2 episodes. You'll play back and you'll laugh, and you go, God, he was funny.
Got it. Well,
it's very interesting.
None of them have any. Okay, I'll stop. Go ahead. This is.
Oh no, I'm just saying it was the first time you ever saw Jimmy. It was like you had to stop for a minute and think, is this a character, or just kind of, you had to watch him a few times.
Yeah, you knew he had that Jerry Lewis kind of humor, that Murphy, or it's just some people are just naturally funny in the room, and with him, he wasn't just trying to take over. He was just dry and low-keyed, and like I say, the look and does that describe it?
Yeah, and he was. Rebecca brought up a point. He was a great host, and he would never try and be funnier than the comic that was preceding him or before him. He'd do little bits in between, in between acts, but he never did his really good material, even to start off the show. Before he started, the host will do what, if I remember right, what was it, 10 minutes, Ralph or Rebecca, and then you start bringing up the acts. Jimmy would just get by. He'd do his 10 minutes of whatever, usually new material, but at the end he would end each show with his best material, which I thought was great. Although there'd be nobody in the audience by then, because after 13, 14 open mic comics, but he treated each comic with respect, and I never ever saw him hardly make any mistakes with people's names or how a comic wants to be introduced. He would always go up to the comic, hey, what do you want me to say? Are you going to be anywhere next week, or, what's going on, or whatever, and he was always so professional and so perfect in that aspect. And he loved it.
I'll remember most for the effect that he had on kids in high schools and drama classes and what have you, and their writings. And I didn't see any of the plays that he put on, but
I saw him in Richard III. I went down to see his play. Yeah, and in
Israel that's Richard the Two. In Israel, that's Richard the 295.
And you know what? Actually, about maybe 2 years ago, when he was in the hospital, I drove down to Palo Alto to visit him, but he was asleep. He was asleep at the time, and I didn't want to wake him up. So I asked the nurse, next time he's awake, let him know that his friend Becky came by, and then I drove back home, and he wrote to me that he really appreciated that I had stopped by.
Mm-hmm. I saw him of his many hospital stays. I went and visited him, and he wasn't in any mood to see me.
Right.
And it was funny. He was just in real pain. This was about, I'd say maybe 7 years ago. And he goes, well, I'll see you at the zoo. And I go, Jimmy, I'm not at the zoo anymore, and there is no zoo. And he smiled. And I say, I love you, man, and I left. And then the next time we talked, he said, I knew there was no zoo, It was
right.
One of those, like, is he serious, or is he making a joke?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and you know what?
Well, I think there's one thing we could all agree on. He will be missed. And
can I mention about his memorial service tomorrow? Tomorrow at...
No, Becky, you can't.
I can't?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes,
you can. Of course.
If anybody is listening that knew Jimmy, or even if you didn't and you want to hear wonderful things about Jimmy, tomorrow, Sunday morning at 11 a.m., in Palo Alto, there's going to be a memorial service for him. I can give you the address in Palo Alto. It's 4175 Manuela, and it's spelled Manuela, if anybody wants to Google it. And I hope that there is standing room only at his memorial.
There will be. It is going to be standing room only. His funeral, there was a lot of people I read there. Just a lot.
I missed his funeral, but I'm not going to miss his memorial service tomorrow. Oh, and if anybody's looking at it on Google, it's in Palo Alto. It's the Arrastadero exit just after Page Mill Road and near Foothill Expressway. So it's sort of halfway between 280 and El Camino is Foothill Expressway.
Right.
Yeah. So everybody that wants to show up, I'm sure every person will be appreciated to be there.
Oh, my God. Sure.
Our love for him.
One thing about Jimmy, again, Jimmy loved life. And, Ralph, you know what? You and Jimmy almost had not the same exact type of humor, but since I've seen you a number of times and Jimmy a lot, you guys, you had a lot of the same delivery of jokes, at times.
Well,
I
consider any comparison to him to be a compliment, so I'll just take it at that. I'm very appreciative. He'll be missed. I still have to say that he's the one guy you never heard anybody say a bad word about Jimmy.
Never. Well, I loved his end of the year awards show through Facebook.
Oh, on Facebook? Yeah.
He would have these awards show, like, here are my favorite new comedians, and here is the person I think has made a big difference, and that went on for, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years. I looked forward to that for the last couple of years. That's it's going to be hard to comprehend that there won't be.
Well, maybe somebody will get together and edit all the stuff that he put on Facebook and make a little book out of it and
that would be really
do some
nice.
illustrations.
That would be great. I mean, who could ever forget him doing the Ronettes, "Be My Baby," that bit?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. That was his best bit. I mean,
hey, listen, I'm still trying.
Oh, is my connection still there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I heard some it sounded almost like my phone was getting all messed up a little bit.
Ralph, did you fall down? What? You still there?
No, I'm still there. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I mean,
I can hear you.
I guess you're trying to end the segment, but Ralph, how many times did you see him do that bit of the Ronettes, "Be My Baby"? I mean, that was
an awful lot of times.
It was awesome. I mean, it was a surefire bring the house down bit, and it was great. It was just so good.
It was indeed.
And in the movie Hey Monster, Hands Off My City, Jimmy has he has such a funny piece. He's dressed as a woman, and he's supposed to be going through a transition to become a woman. And the next time you see the character, it's actually a very voluptuous female, and it cuts back and forth between Jimmy in drag and the actual voluptuous female. That was so funny.
Yeah, just the thought of seeing Jimmy in drag should be worth the price of admission.
In a tight red dress, and his name in the movie is Gunderson, and he's a detective. Mm-hmm. And he's so dry with his delivery. He's perfect. In the last scene that you see him in, he's walking up the stairs, and he pats his ass just like the new Gunderson, and he's so perfect. I mean, Rebecca brought up something so beautiful, because that was the last thought. I mean, that was the very first thought of Jimmy I saw when I read that he had passed, because I had just seen it last week. And I was at the filming of a couple of scenes that didn't make it for Jimmy, that were on the cutting room floor. And he was in real pain shooting all of those scenes. It was a bad part, bad time for him. But, Michael Meehan, who produced the movie and was filming it and everything, asked him, "Are you sure you could do this? You don't look," and he goes, "I look good enough to do it." And that was his exact words.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to see that movie, it's going to be showing at the Throckmorton in Mill Valley on August 20th. It's a Thursday.
Listen to this woman. She has her act together. Yes, it is.
Well, I'll give you one. On the 18th, there will be Mr. Ferrari, Doug Ferrari, will be at the Throckmorton. And I will be there with my digital mic and recording a podcast for Doug, who's one of my recurring guests, such as your dear old selves. And I'm happy to have you all here. Listen, I don't think we can say much more about Jimmy than we have. I appreciate you guys talking about him. But Fred, I want you to tell me how you and Bob got started with Roddy Piper's Roddy Piper fanaticism. And let's give Bob a little microphone time here. He's been waiting.
Yeah, why don't you let Bob start off with how he came to know Roddy Piper, and then I'll chime in later. You know, Bob's been very patient. And Bob's a patient guy, even though he's tall and
absolutely. You wouldn't know it. Bob has already sent somebody over here to stick a shiv in me for not.
Oh, I got there. Oh, good. I'm glad I made it. Oh, good. I paid top dollar for that.
Well, you wouldn't have to pay top dollar. You could just get volunteers to do it. So tell me about Roddy Piper.
Well, first of all, it's really cool hearing about this gentleman and what impact he had on your lives and on comedy, because I didn't know who he was, only from what Fred told me. And obviously anyone that a show, even just a podcast, even a Kami Pinko podcast like of Ralph's can dedicate.
Such as it is. Such as it is, and such as he is.
And remember, folks, I only reason I come on this Kami Pinko podcast is for certain reasons, and this time it was for because I knew Fred, and now Rebecca's on there and Roddy Piper. So
all it takes is a wrestler to die, and I could get you back.
Yes.
So should I be distributing steroids? Should I be distributing steroids to speed up the process, or has somebody beat me to the punch?
Well, pardon the pun, but yeah, somebody did beat you to the punch.
Okay.
Well, Roddy Piper was actually there was someone else that died.
How did he pass? I don't know much about. My kid is so into professional. He had a heart attack. How old was the gentleman?
61.
61. Wow.
Well, it was me and Fred.
Who died.
A lot of our wrestling heroes that we loved are dying so young because in the 80s they were partying so hard and they were doing steroids that's why a lot of these wrestlers are dying in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, which is way.
Well, I don't know if you know that I'm still in mourning because Haystacks Calhoun passed away.
Right, dude. You need to get therapy.
And I get up every day. I did. I went through this meeting for it. Can you get over Haystacks? It's called.
Actually, you're still in mourning. You're still in mourning for the '62 Mets. I heard. I don't know what the hell.
I don't think they won very much. I blocked a lot of it from my memory. I've blocked it from my memory.
Yeah.
But I might ask you who's in first place right now in the National League East as we speak.
That would be the Washington Senators. I mean the Washington Nationals or whatever they're called.
Whatever they're called.
The Washington Wolverines.
Doesn't matter. So tell me about Roddy. He died of a heart attack. Did they try to get him help? Did Whitney Houston's daughter had nothing to do with this? What actually happened?
It was very well. I mean, Bob will totally agree. It was very there was no advance warning, although he was looking peaked. But in his last interview, he went to bed on Thursday and passed sometime in the night. And I'll let Bob continue it. So.
Yeah, so he died in the middle of the night, and then the next day, I was somewhere, and then I was actually at my girlfriend's house, and she went upstairs for a second, and she went to go get the laptop, and she said, "Oh no!" And I said, "What?" So something on Facebook, and immediately I go like, "Oh crap! What is it?" And then so I grabbed the laptop and looked, and the first thing I thought was Piper. And then, of course, the first thought in my mind is like, oh shit, I hope Fred already knows, or do I have to break the news to him? Because immediately I thought of Freddie, so I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I mean, Roddy, I bonded with Roddy when I was 12 years old, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I had a man crush on him forever and ever and ever.
But then again, Fred has a man crush on everyone, so kind of take that one loosely.
Well, thanks a lot. What is half the world population, men? That means when I open the door, I love you. I love
You're a slut, Fred. You're a slut.
Well, you guys need a podcast. You guys need a podcast show to work this out of your own.
Yeah. Well, no, we want to come on yours and work it out.
Decorum.
Okay, decorum.
Decorum on this show is an oxymoron.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Look, let's get back to being serious here. Roddy carried me through tough times. He was just my idol, period. I must have seen him wrestle. I had someone else ask me how many times I saw him wrestle, and I never stopped to think about it. So the other night, I tried to do a count, and it's past 50.
Wow, I didn't know it was that much. Wow.
Well, I mean, I'm an old guy. I mean,
And you went to, and Fred used to go to a lot of the old Cow Palace shows in San Francisco, right. The Roy Shire promotion. So that's where
the days of Pat Patterson, Ray Stevens, Lonnie Main. But anyway, he was such a showman. And, I mean, we all have stars. We all have celebrities or writers or whatever. We all have people that we look up to,
right.
We all have our heroes. And this day and age, it's really rare for somebody to admit they have a hero. Well, mine was Roddy Piper. Yeah. And more often than not, I would act like him in certain situations, really up until now still. And I can't tell you how many times I would think, what would Roddy do? And it would get me in trouble because I would do it. And, maybe that's why, I don't have a good job, because I got fired from a couple of really good jobs, being rowdy, being sarcastic, and just not letting anybody get over on me. But back to the thing, Roddy, I haven't seen the internet blow up like it has with a celebrity dying since Princess Di. That was the last time. People are still posting today about Roddy a week later. And
because he was a household, he unlike some other wrestlers, he was like Hulk Hogan. Well, Hulk Hogan will always be the biggest household name wrestler, right. And then Andre the Giant. But Roddy, and like Fred's about to say, it's very true, is even people who aren't into wrestling were posting stuff about him, and that says a lot about him. And really, only people who aren't. And what says the most about him is that when people post about him, they're not posting about him, all the stuff he did after the first, when the Hulkamania of the mid '80s. They're just remembering him from the mid '80s. So that really does show you just from that what impact he had on the general public, not the wrestling fan. The general public.
Well, let me just interrupt 1 second to ask Rebecca.
No, how dare you? No.
No, I must.
No.
And who wore number 9 for the Boston Red Sox?
Ted Williams.
Before you even finish the question, I knew the answer. Ted Williams is the answer.
This
to
is an absolute encyclopedia. She is an absolute encyclopedia of Ted Williams' history.
No, it's just that I even know, like, if they say, what time is the Giants game tonight? The answer is Ted Williams.
Okay.
Everything's Ted Williams. What's your favorite sexual position? The Ted Williams. Duh.
Ted Williams.
And
unless you were talking to me, and that would be Willie Mays.
And then it'd be Jimmy Fallon. No, wait. Oh, that's not right. That was bad. That was really
Let me go on. I had to include every now and again. I have to bring a voice that's sitting on the bench, as we did with you, Robert, for a breather, a fresh. Changes things up a little bit. Makes it sound like this is conversational, and it makes it almost sound like we're all in the same room at the 420 studio at Alameda.
Well, also what it's showing you is that it's Ralph's LSD is kicking in. That's usually what that means.
Oh, LSD, huh? Well, I haven't heard it described as LSD for a long time. It's just
you get flashbacks still.
And I'll tell you what. I have a cousin, and she did drugs. She's middle-aged now, and she did drugs in the 60s.
Single?
And she's going through menopause, and she's having hot flashbacks.
Oh, that's a good one. That's great. How long did it take you to come up with that one? That's good.
It took me my entire comedy career, as a matter of fact.
You've been waiting all day to say that one, haven't you?
Well, you set me up. I didn't know you were going to set me up. You just throw me those easy ones.
And get back. Let's get back and memorialize this guy real quick.
Okay. All right. Again, we could do this on future shows. We'll always have him as a callback. Roddy
Piper.
Jesus. Ralph.
God, can I say this from the bottom of my heart? God rest his soul. Because
you know that Fred named
for a lot of
two of
people.
his cats after?
Yeah,
they know pipes.
I was all going to tie it up, but since we're all like at the coffee shop and our coffee cups need filled, I will end it with just saying that people that don't know him as a wrestler know him as a B-movie actor, but he had a one-time hit called They Live, and a line from that movie that's fairly famous, was voted as one of the top 25 lines of all Hollywood history of movies is, I'll let Rob say it.
I've come here to do two things, chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum.
That's good.
Wow.
That's Roddy Piper, and he made that.
So I've known Jimmy for almost 28 years now.
Oh gosh, long time.
And he passes a courageous man. And you're doing a bubblegum thing for Roddy Piper on the same.
Actually, there was one other person that died this week that didn't get a lot of attention.
Who did Kate Smith pass? Finally, she was sick. I heard the last thing. No, who died now?
No, she was a really awesome singer, mostly popular in England. Her name was Cilla Black, and she was really awesome. And she had a lot of great songs. And she had a great song in the '60s written by Paul McCartney called "Step Inside, My Love." But she passed this week, and she was young too. She was in her 70s, I think. I just wanted to acknowledge that. That didn't get a lot of press, but she was really a fantastic singer.
Someone else died.
Who?
Died.
Who? Turned it into a great show.
Hold on a minute here, guys. I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden.
Oh, did she?
Anne Murray?
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness.
Who died?
That's
Anne Murray.
Anne Murray died?
And that was this week? I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow,
when did Anne Murray die?
Anne Murray didn't sing that song. Lynn Anderson
sang this. I never promised you a rose garden. Yeah. I think
that was
Anne Murray died.
I think that was Anne Murray.
Oh,
yeah, but she covered it.
She might have sung. She might have covered it, or she might have sung it in the shower.
Well, probably what Rob's referring to is Rob and I we loved the Carol Burnett show, and probably that woman came on and did a cover of it. But no, the originator of the song, the one who brought it to prominence, she died, Lynn Anderson. So yeah, it's not a good week for entertainers, let's say, because Jimmy was a hell of an entertainer. So was Roddy, but
and Cilla Black and Lynn Anderson. Unfortunately, Ralph is still here.
Okay, I'm still unfortunately, I'm doing well. Is this it? Hey, listen, guys, you've been terrific. Rebecca, too. You're not a guy. God only knows. Well,
hey, Ralph.
Yes,
Ralph,
ma'am.
One last thing. Did you know that Fred named two of his cats after Roddy Piper? He has a girl kitty named Pipes, and he lost RP about a year or two ago, and both of them were named after Roddy Piper.
Oh,
That's right.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Then again, that's reason enough to really say on you guys, both Robert and Fred, my condolences on your loss. I didn't know the man. And I'm learning just how much of an effect he had, not only on you, but on a generation of folks who are into it. My kid's a wrestling fan. He knows an awful lot more than I do about it.
He could fill you in. And, I'd like to just one and get really serious. I was diagnosed with lymphoma about a year and a half ago, and Rebecca went out of her way to really support me and really help me, and I want to thank her in public for it.
Oh,
and she was really there when I needed her. And I probably would not be standing on 2 feet now if it wasn't for her. And the other person is Roddy Piper. Why? Because he got diagnosed with lymphoma 6 or 7 years earlier. And when the doctor told me, hey, this is what's going on, you have lymphoma, the very first thought in my mind was, well, if Roddy could beat it, I'll beat it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
That's a fact, And Jimmy,
so you got to keep on keeping on, man.
Jimmy played the part in it too, Ralph. Like I said, he never, ever, God bless Jimmy Gunn, because he never let on about his health problems. And if you had health problems, he would be there for you, and he would be the first to tell you, well, you want to go to this type of doctor, and you want to get this done. He was a walking encyclopedia, and he was never afraid to give you information, So thank you for having me on, and thank you for honoring the great Jimmy Gunn and Roddy Piper. And I apologize to Rob for making fun of him being a Cowboy fan.
He has no control of that whatsoever.
No.
He's a great
again, coming from a 49er fan, what does that mean? Anyways.
Yeah, well, Rebecca and Ralph, you guys, both of you, I love both of you.
We love you.
I tolerate Bob. So, you guys have I'm going to sign off and let you guys sign off, and thank you for letting me come on.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, and I hope.
Thanks for having all of you, and I ended the show at the beginning, so I'll just say to everybody,
Comfortably zoned rules.
Keep on keeping on, and adios, amigos and amigas.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Ralph.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye.